started accepting the bitcoins. This is a restaurant. Of course, this is the photo of Los Angeles, USA, which is accepting the bitcoin. In India also, on a daily basis, and in other parts of the world, more and more merchant establishments are joining hands to accept the bitcoins. So, say for an example, this bitcoin, I know that I come across one report published in the Times of India some days back that one restaurant in Worli, Bombay is also accepting bitcoin. Now, how you will be wondering how you can make the payment of your restaurant bill. As I mentioned, you can buy your bitcoin and keep in your e-wallet, the digital wallet. Go to your restaurant with say your bill is 5,000 rupees, and then the current market price of the bitcoin is say 50,000 rupees Indian rupee. So it becomes 0.10 bitcoin, 0.10 value of bitcoin. So you have your private key, and then you get know of the public key of the restaurant, match each other, and you transfer 0.10 bitcoins for payment of the restaurant bill of 5,000 rupees. That's all. How these kind of things have started moving. Now, there are recent cyber attacks on Bitcoin exchanges. Today, only if you read the newspaper, major newspapers like Times of India and Business Line have reported that Mount Gox, the one of before few months it was considered to be the biggest exchange based out of Japan, have stopped allowing the withdrawals of the bitcoins of their customers. How? I mean, this kind of attack are called malleability, transaction malleability, which is nothing but a mass denial of service attack, DDoS attacks on the three exchanges which have taken place. One was on Mount Gox, that is Japan, Bitstamp in Slovenia, and Bitcoins in Bulgaria. Three exchanges were attacked by cyber attackers, which is called the transaction malleability. How it takes place? This is also one of the questions which I got yesterday. The phantom transaction, the large kind of transaction, everybody of us knows at least the mass denial of, distributed denial of service attacks. The force to hold the withdrawals of bitcoins until they determine which transactions are real. Because of the attack, cyber attack, the prices of Bitcoin again dropped from 700 to 540 after the attack. See, there was two sharp fall. One, as I mentioned, when the China banned their banks not to encourage the Bitcoin transaction, the price fell from $1,230 to $600 in a single day or 2 days. Second time, when some of the major exchanges were attacked by the cyber criminals, transaction malleability, and because of which again the prices have fallen down from $700 to $540, because the customers who have registered their e-wallets with the Mount Gox Japan Bitcoin exchange, they were denied the right to withdraw the bitcoins. And then as per the market report, there was a unavailability or other non-traceability of 7,44,000 bitcoins in the only one exchange, that is Mount Gox Japan. The market value is somewhere around $350, which comes to about 2,500 crores of rupees. Bitcoins have disappeared, and then the exchange is trying to find out where it has gone and then how the attacks takes place. It is an attack that lets someone change. It's very important, very technical rather. But how the transaction malleability, how this recent attack have taken place, and what is the technicality which is involved in this? It is an attack that lets someone change the unique ID of Bitcoin transaction before it is confirmed in the Bitcoin network. When I sell some Bitcoin, I use my private key and use the public key of the person to whom I am sending the Bitcoin. Before that transaction is recorded, confirmed in Bitcoin network, somebody tries to play games with my private key and the public key of the person who is going to receive the Bitcoin. So before the transaction is confirmed, some issue, some attacks and some loophole is the cyber attacks try to find out. The change makes it possible for someone to pretend that a transaction did not even happen at all if all the right conditions are in place. So this is, I could understand to the best of my knowledge that this kind of cyber attacks have taken place with the major exchange, and then some theft of 7,44,000 Bitcoin have taken place under the head of transaction malleability, and it has happened like this. Bitcoin and regulators. Company, there are, you see, as I mentioned, lot of, or rather the majority of the countries and the regulators, they are confused how to regulate, how to classify the Bitcoins. There are certain questions. Company which provides trading of Bitcoins, P2P network, whether it can be classified as non-banking finance company as far as India is concerned, whether they can be considered as foreign exchange traders, the question mark. Since Bitcoin is believed to be an electronic document, is Information Technology Act 2008 made applicable to it? Question mark. RBI want to ensure its role as the sole issuer of notes is not challenged. RBI is also in the dilemma because they are the sole issuer of the currency notes, and Bitcoin is something which is not under their control. So their authority is under challenge. RBI would be concerned about foreign exchange transactions of buy or sale of Bitcoins in India, and perhaps likes to license traders as authorized foreign exchange dealers. That is what I believe. SEBI, another regulator of India, would be concerned about the exchanges that operate buy or sale of the Bitcoin against rupee or other currencies, since the activity is similar to stock trading and public may lose heavily if the operators are not regulated. So SEBI is also concerned. There is a lot of brainstorming which is going on among these regulators, how to take care, how to come out with this, and how to regulate this currency. Money laundering applies. As per the definition, money laundering applies to a financial transaction. Very important to note that people are making hue and cry that with the help of Bitcoin, the money laundering takes place. But unless and until it is defined properly, you cannot even define is a money laundering. I will explain you. Money laundering applies to a financial transactions involving monetary instrument. Money laundering applies to a financial transaction involving monetary instrument which include coin or currency of the respective country. Now, definition appear to exclude Bitcoin as it is not issued by any government. Coin or currency is always issued by a respective country. Now, the Bitcoin is not issued by any country. How it can be defined under this financial instrument? And if it is not defined under financial instrument, then financial monetary instrument, then it is not a financial transaction. If it is not a financial transaction, difficult to even define under money laundering. So, the regulators, even the Indian regulators, have to define this to make it considered as a money laundering tool in some of the transactions. There are, because it has to be classified somewhere properly. Bitcoin being stolen from the wallet of users is like any other type of theft. It is stolen. It's like other theft. If somebody steals some cash from my wallet, it's a theft. However, stealing virtual currency would not be subject to prosecution as laws applies only to the removal of physical items. Theft defines removal of physical item, the removal of some currency notes from my wallet. But the law does not apply to stealing virtual currency. So if you want, any regulator want to define the stealing of the currency from wallet, they have to define it, the Bitcoin, as properly somewhere. Income tax authority may also be interested to get a share of pie when investors make profits or traders on the trading. Some section of legal experts are of the opinion that very known law firms in India, very known, I would not like to name the law firm, but they have opined that the Reserve Bank of India has no legal right to ban Bitcoin per se. It can ban promotion of Bitcoin as a currency. This is as per the press and media report quoting that particular law firm. India is believed to have more than 30,000 strong Bitcoin community, with at least 20,000 of them owning the digital currency. This is as per the report estimate. Now, also would like to know what are the days ahead for the Bitcoin. As we discussed earlier 2-3 times, Bitcoin lacks intrinsic value, as their value depends only on the willingness of users to accept them. This is the buying and selling. So, willingness of users to accept the transactions, the market price depends on that. Vulnerability to hacking and cyber theft makes investment more questionable. Days ahead. Anyone who plays in cyberspace, but you see, this is also important to note that we are now accustomed to use internet or rather the cyber world for a lot of commercial transaction, online banking, credit card payments. So we are aware that cyber attacks takes place. So anyone who plays in cyberspace have a better plan for when cyber attack happens, because it is going to be a when, not an if, because we have to accept that in the cyber world the cyber attacks are taking place and can definitely take place. It is only when, is not an if it takes place. If is removed now. To mitigate the risk of such attacks, one needs to spread out holdings of Bitcoin among the several online wallets. So based on this recent attack on a particular exchange or two exchange, the expert has opined that one has to distribute their holding of Bitcoins among several online wallets, not only depending on only one wallet. So if I have 25 Bitcoins, I would rather divide this 5 each under different e-wallets, digital wallets, services provided by different agencies. So if one of the agency is hacked, then I am not suffered a loss of the entire 25 Bitcoins. As far as the Indian regulator is concerned, Reserve Bank of India issued a vague warning that Bitcoin usage is unsafe due to potential money laundering and cyber security risk. As we mentioned earlier, government of China banned their banks from accepting Bitcoins as a form of payment. But you see, more and more facilitation taking place across the world towards popularity of Bitcoins, and more ATMs are getting installed, more and more safe and insured safe vaults are being provided to protect your Bitcoins wallets. So all these things are taking place. More and more merchant establishments are added in the global network of accepting the Bitcoin. If you surf the net, there is some website which gives the information about today how much merchant establishment have been added, which have become ready to accept the Bitcoin. The restaurants and online stores and the gift stores and then consumer durable stores and blah blah blah. As I mentioned earlier, there are updates on the Bitcoins on a daily basis. Something new development taking place on a daily basis. So I would say that is an unstoppable journey. Bitcoin updates, unstoppable journey. Few updates after I completed my presentation before a week's time. Standard Bank, which is considered to be the largest South Africa bank, which has started trials integration with Bitcoins. This is the news. Now, Singapore-based company prepared the software called Switchless is going to be, as per the report, is going to be utilized by the banks for integrating the Bitcoins with their existing operations. As per the market report, now one can buy the Dell computer products with Bitcoins via the service provider, via the website provider GYFT Gift. Recently, Bitcoin ATM has been installed on a very busy Boston train station in United States. Recently, before about 3-4 days back, Bank of Israel and Israeli Ministry of Finance issued a caution notice on Bitcoin among the first three group. Ukraine issued legal guidance accepting the Bitcoin. Ukraine has not taken part with the Russia. Russia is not in favor of Bitcoins, but Ukraine has issued legal guidance accepting the Bitcoin. In Dubai, Pizzeria became the first merchant in United Emirates to accept the Bitcoins. eBay is building a digital wallet for PayPal that can cover multiple types of currency. That is also new development which is taking place. Now, very important, the experiment which has taken place in United States, one must know that, which validates the future for virtual currency through micro payments, smaller payments. On 3rd of February 2014, before few days back only, a 9th largest newspaper in United States, which is called Chicago Sun-Times, launched an experiment whereby they have certain articles which can be only bought out by the readers. So they have mentioned that some of articles are to be bought only with the help of Bitcoins, and you will surprised to know that 63% of the readers on a particular day, 713 visitors, paid Bitcoin equivalent to $0.25, and about $7,800 were collected, and the proceeds were given to charitable organization. This was only the experiment. The newspaper wanted to go for an experiment, and then by having the success in this experiment, they claim that they have validated the future. It goes toward the validating the future for virtual currency through micropayments. Very importantly, notorious non-profit journalistic organization WikiLeaks. Everybody knows that WikiLeaks has shaken United States with their some reports. WikiLeaks revealed via Twitter on 24 January 2014 that majority of its public funding now comes through Bitcoin transactions, and so far out of 2,200 transactions, they have received 3,855 Bitcoins as per the market report. Swiss banks have reportedly started offering services on Bitcoins, because as per the report of the newspaper, since now the Swiss banks also started finding the new business revenue after the new KYC guidelines have also affected their customers, they are now trying to find out the new ways and means how to woo the customer, the same kind of customer who have the unaccounted money and black money to say. And then reportedly, as per the market report, as per the press report, the Swiss bank has started offering some services on the Bitcoins. British University, one of the British University have started accepting the fees in Bitcoins. One of the charitable organization in Toronto, Canada, have put on the website that they also accept the Bitcoins as a mode of payment. Now, as per my understanding, there are few key challenges in 2014 for Bitcoins. One, the first and foremost is that to become a revolutionary type transformative technology, they have to go for a foolproof technology to avoid more and more cyber attacks, to make the consumer money, the customers' money more safe. So they have to come out with a technology whereby it can protect the interest of the customers, so that more and more faith can take place and more and more people attract toward the new currency. Adoption. As we have earlier discussed about the adoption thought process of different countries, whether how to accept this, issue the caution notice, accepting as a valid mode of payment, and coming out with the guidelines for the tax treatment and all. So adoption by different countries also be a key challenge for 2014. Price volatility, as we mentioned earlier, is also one of the key challenges, because the huge price volatility taking place after the failure of one of the major stock exchange in Japan. Price has gone down to $530 or $550. Again moved to again about $680 to $700 today. Dispute resolution. As per my understanding, there has to be dispute resolution about which the facility should be available with the Bitcoin exchanges. So if something goes wrong with the two buyer and seller, there has to be dispute resolution, as we have similar kind of situation in our exchanges, National Stock Exchange or Bombay Stock Exchange or other stock commodity exchanges worldwide. So these are the key challenges for 2014. Bitcoin and India, these are my thoughts. Indian regulators need to provide appropriate guardrails to protect consumers and root out money laundering without stifling beneficial innovation. This is what I suggest. The Indian regulator has to provide guidelines to protect the consumers. At the same time, without stifling beneficial innovation. BTC as per se are not illegal in India, but how one deals with this may be a matter of legality. Because Bitcoin does not fit the vanilla definition of currency or securities in India, the RBI or SEBI not in a position to regulate it so far. As I mentioned, the regulator has to come out to define Bitcoin somewhere. However, there is a potential of it being regulated, as regulators do have the power to notify it as a security or currency, but it takes time. I believe that the regulators of India are in a process of doing this. BTC can be illegal in some situation. Export from India, receive payment in Bitcoins and park outside. That is, I think it's illegal. Intermediary needs to pay a service tax of the Bitcoin traders. These are my thoughts, how Bitcoin can be classified, can be considered, what kind of treatments which can take place in India. FEMA would not be triggered when transactions are intra-India, when a buyer and seller are from India. According to me, the FEMA cannot be triggered. Import of Bitcoins would be legitimate if transactions carried out through proper banking channels. If I have the legitimate digital wallet, I am registered with the Bitcoin exchange any part of the world, and if I buy the Bitcoin with the help of my proper banking channels, and if I disclose properly in my accounting records and tax returns, I don't think that it is illegitimate. Keeping Bitcoin for many years and getting profit on sale attract capital gain tax as per my view. Accepting Bitcoins for service rendered, one has to pay income tax after converting Bitcoins into rupee. As I mentioned earlier, that since Bitcoin be considered as an electronic document, Information Technology Act 2008 can protect Bitcoin transaction in India. The relevant provisions of theft and hacking of e-wallet can be covered. So far not covered, but a regulator can cover. This is my thought, that section 43 and 66 of IT Act 2008, which relates to computer related offenses which destroy, delete or alter any information or diminishes its value. And under section 66C, somebody fraudulently use electronic signature or a password. So theft of the Bitcoin from the digital wallet, making some cyber attacks on the Bitcoin exchanges through the transaction network, network of the exchanges, blockchain, etc. can be covered under the Indian IT Act 2008, 43, 66 and 66C sections of the IT Act, whereby the Indian consumer can be protected. Is it safe to invest in Bitcoins? Bitcoin transactions carry non-financial risk. Purchases may lead to an investor being in the radar of Enforcement Directorate. Purchases may lead to an investor being in the radar of Enforcement Directorate. If the purchases are made strictly out of legal funds and the seller is properly identified by KYC norms, the risk is lower. It is safe for those who know Bitcoin, who can invest, who should even think about investing. It is safe for those who know Bitcoin, who have high risk appetite and know the technology and have faith in the technology. They should only go or think about investing in Bitcoin. Bitcoin, out of all, I can say in the nutshell, Bitcoin is still an experimental protocol in its infancy. I repeat, it's an experimental protocol in its infancy. It will grow and mature over a period of time. That's what I believe and advise the viewers to invest in Bitcoin, whether it is safe or not. The contents of this my presentation are sourced from the Bank of America, CNBC, Google Search, Reuters, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, Z Business, Flipboard News, CoinDesk News, YouTube, Economic Times, Times of India, and Business Line. I acknowledge the contents which I source from these sources. Now, I would rather take the questions which are posed to me till yesterday. I will go one by one. Yeah, one question which has come from Mr. Rimpal Talwar. The question is, there is all-round criticism and it is considered Bitcoin lacks consumer protection and can be stolen and chargebacks are impossible. On the similar line, it was disapproved by European banking and other authorities. If Bitcoins carry this type of risk, how customers' interest would be protected against such kind of malpractice? I think this question has already been taken care of in my presentation. Definitely it requires, I mentioned under my key challenges that the technology has to be improved and the law of the land has to take place. As far as India is concerned, the Indian regulatory authority has to define Bitcoin properly somewhere so that it can be covered either as security or commodity or currency, and then only the Information Technology Act, the cyber laws can protect the consumers. Another question which have come from Mr. Chandrasekhar Kuperi. He has sent good questions. How many Bitcoins are in circulation as of date? Why is the limit fixed to 21 million Bitcoins? To answer this question, I can say that the system of the Bitcoin, the devised by Satoshi Nakamoto, is designed in such a way that it increases the issue of Bitcoins as per the more and more mining takes place. But designed in such a way that it goes only up to 21 million. So it's a design of the software, design of the system itself, so that it cannot grow more than 21 million. So far, 12 million Bitcoins have so far issued. Now one would wonder that if 12 million Bitcoins are issued so far, 21 million is so near, it can reach another 1 year, 2 years down the line. But here is the catch. In order to meet the target of 21 million, the incremental supply of new Bitcoins will decrease geometrically by 50% every 4 years. So every 4 years, the incremental supply increase of Bitcoins will reduced geometrically 50%.